At this point in the meeting, we'll open it up to visitor statements. First of two visitor statements, the Board of Education welcomes and encourages the participation of its citizens in the business of the school district. There are 2 points of the meeting where visitor comments are scheduled. Citizens are welcome to raise questions or make comments at either one. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and cannot be combined. Please note the Board of Education will not answer questions or engage in dialogue during visitor comments. If a person would like additional time to address the board, such a request should be submitted in writing 48 hours before the meeting to the superintendent. In addition, the Board of Education is interested in receiving suggestions and concerns for members of the community. An individual may make a suggestion or express a concern at the district or school office. All suggestions and/or concerns will be referred to the appropriate level staff member or district administrator who is most able to respond in a timely manner. Each concern or suggestion shall be considered on its merits. An individual who is not satisfied after following the channels of authority may file a grievance under Board Policy 2:260, Uniform Grievance Procedure. Neither this policy nor the Uniform Grievance Procedure creates an independent right to a hearing before the board. For more details, please refer to Board Policy 2:230, Public Participation at Board of Education Meetings, and petition to the board, and Board Policy 8:110, Public Suggestions and Concerns. I see two gentlemen together, or
Yep. Well, we have 6 minutes then, if we go together?
yeah, you can each have 3 minutes,
Okay, all right.
and then we'll give you a 30-second, warning when you get there.
I got a handout. if
Sure.
possible, Just to do that. And, my name is Matt Rand. I live at 453 Uvidale Road. My daughter is a senior here, and my son is an incoming freshman. And thank you for taking your time, or allowing me to take your time to present this. And all I'd like to talk about is Rob Dixon, who's sitting right next to me, sent an email to Mr. Skinkis about the synthetic turf. He sent it yesterday, so you might not have seen it or anything, but in there, Rob references a website called syntheticturf.org. And if you go to that, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff about synthetic turf that's listed in there. But I want to cut to the chase in something that's in there. There's a study done by the university, or Yale University, and it talks about, on the second page, I made highlights on there for you, and it talks about the Yale University on how our children are playing on toxic grounds. And it's basically goes to the crumb tire infill that's being installed in the fields right there. And this is done on June 26th of 2015. And what they did is they took, if you go down to the bottom of the second page, they had 5 samples of infill from 5 different installers and 9 different samples from rubber mulch taken from 9 different unopened bags and playgrounds. If you turn to the third page right there where they list out, if you flip it over, because I know I just have a limited amount of time, they had 96 chemicals that they detected. 47% had no toxicity on there, meaning they don't know what those chemicals do that are in these tires right there. They don't know if they're good, they don't know if they're bad, they just don't know anything about them. Of the other 50%, 20% are known carcinogens. If you look at number 5, 19 are irritants, and then of those 19 irritants, some cause asthma, 18 cause skin irritations, 13 cause eye irritations right there. They know that these cause that. And then if you go down further in the page right there, the synergistic effects, because all the studies study each individual one, they don't know when now you're going to be exposed to all of these chemicals all at once. They don't know what those studies do. They don't know what those effects are going to be on the young people that are going to be playing all over this field. And then further down on the page right there, on the second page, they talk about carbon black nanoparticles. When you read this article right here, or the study done by Yale, these carbon nanoparticles, they say they're identical, they're nearly identical to asbestos. And they've proven that they get in the bellies of mice, and they tear holes in the stomach, and they create lesions in mice, and they say they are very asbestos-like. I highlighted other stuff in there, you can look, but they basically just, if you look at the one page right there, we do not have those studies because...
30 seconds, thank you.
If I were, My main point on here is just that we're doing it backwards because we feel that we have to prove that this is unsafe before we will say that our kids aren't going to be playing on this. And I feel that we should be proving that this is safe before we allow our kids to play on it. And go look at all the material out there. There's tons of studies out there that says this stuff is not good for our kids to be on.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Rob Dixon. I also live on Uvedale Road. And I just want to thank you for serving in this capacity on the school board. You guys deal with some weighty issues, and I'm sure it's a major time consumption for you. And you do great work. The consideration you're doing on these safety bonds is good for the community. Appreciate your work. In regard to the field and the infill choices, I saw that in an earlier meeting you guys considered the use of a different infill on the field other than crumb rubber, looking at Nike Grind. My request would be that you reconsider that, and for, I think it was $109,000 based on the board book. I think that would be a good investment. You know, worst case scenario is going to be kids who play on this field and get sick. I mean, there's definitely anecdotal evidence that is strong that shows this. Kids in the western suburbs, all over the country. Kentucky, in fact, has recently not allowed the use of state funds for crumb rubber tire use on any fields. Oak Park recently installed 2 of these fields, and they used a alternative to crumb rubber. So it's trending away from the use of crumb rubber, and we should be at that point where 5 years from now, whenever this stuff is deemed to be unsafe, you're going to have to remediate. It's going to be expensive as can be to remediate, and depending on the level that's deemed to be toxic, you're going to have to do some major remediation. And the school board, I'm afraid, is going to be left holding the bag, because the company that installed these, if they remain solvent, you know, they could remediate or promise to remediate, but I guess the last firm that did the stone isn't coming back to fix that. So I'm just saying this is a concern in the community. It's a concern for us. We both have kids who play soccer. And you see elite soccer players who spend a lot of time on these fields getting sick, and you can't ignore that. So I would hope that a precautionary principle could prevail. I have some information about communities, high schools, townships who are moving away from the tire crumb rub infill. If it could be distributed to the board in your post-meeting materials, I'd appreciate it. And I would just like reconsideration of the Nike Grind. Appreciate your work.
Thank you, Rep.
Thank you very much.
Google crumb tire infill dateline, and you'll see a 5-minute video that they did, and it's so compelling. If you just take 5 minutes and watch that video, it'll. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll be at homecoming. It's safe.